The pre-op bay held more than antiseptic silence. James Whitmore, 64, lay on a gurney, his daughter Sarah gripping his hand as if the world might pull him away. Then Sarah's phone buzzed. A message from her husband, Brandon, "Can't make it, closing the biggest deal of my career tomorrow."
He's not coming. My father's having a triple bypass, and he's chasing a deal. This is his true colors, Dad. I am going to call him right now.
Sarah, don't. His absence is his signature. Let it stand.
James turned to the nurse and asked for his phone to be brought directly after surgery.
But why? You need rest, not more stress.
Because some things don't wait. Trust me, sweetheart.
As they wheeled him toward the operating room, his lips moved with a whisper only he could hear.
We'll see about that deal, Brandon.
The bypass machine hummed to life as the surgeon made the first incision. James Whitmore's heart would soon be stopped. In the waiting room, Sarah stared at the wall clock. Its ticking heavy with dread. She dialed Brandon.
Come on, Brandon. Pick up. For once, be there.
The line clicked to voicemail. His recorded voice sounded rehearsed, distant. She ended the call. The words "always business" burning a hole in her chest. 4 hours later, the surgeon stepped back. The grafts were in place. James Whitmore's heart was beating again. The surgeon appeared in the waiting room. The bypass was successful. James was in ICU, stable. Sarah stood at his bedside. Tubes and wires held him tethered, but his chest rose and fell with a quiet defiance.
You have to wake up, Dad. There's still a deal to kill.
In the dim ICU light, the phone that could unravel everything sat untouched. Morning light spilled into the ICU. James Whitmore's eyes fluttered open, the beeping of monitors steady but alien.
Dad, you are awake. The surgery was a success. The doctor said your heart is strong.
She squeezed his hand. Then her voice hardened, but Brandon didn't come. He sent one text and then silence, not even a call.
My phone. Bring me my phone.
Dad, the nurse said absolutely no stress. You need to heal.
This is the only way I heal, Sarah. Hand it to me, please.
She placed the phone in his trembling hands. He ignored the medical warnings and unlocked a secure data room, a vault of corporate records only he could access.
Two-factor authentication. Biometric scan. Only my fingerprint unlocks this vault.
Corporate filings scrolled past, fund structures, holding entities, then a familiar name, a logistics firm. The very acquisition Brandon had boasted about.
So that's his career-defining deal.
Across the city, in a corner office with floor-to-ceiling glass, Brandon Hayes was in the final stretch of a $340 million acquisition. Adrenaline muted everything else.
Final docs on my desk by 5. No surprises.
His personal phone lit up with Sarah's name. He answered with a clipped tone.
Finally. While Dad's chest was being cracked open, you were chasing a wire transfer.
I sent a text. This deal is once in a lifetime. I'll be there tonight.
Tonight? He could have died. You chose a signature over family.
It's business. You knew what you signed up for when you married a dealmaker. Later.
He ended the call and returned to his team, arrayed on a video wall, waiting.
Numbers are ironclad. This deal redefines the firm. We're making history.
Champagne chilled, but the man holding the keys lay in a hospital bed, reading every line. 2 days later, James sat upright in a private suite, a tablet balanced on his lap. His body was healing, but his eyes had sharpened into something dangerous.
Now let's peel back the layers. Who really owns this logistics firm?
He scrolled past fund after fund, shell after shell. The structure was designed to obscure, but not from its architect. Then, buried 3 layers deep, a name leaped out. MW Holdings, his family office. The silent capital behind the entire deal.
MW Holdings, my entity. The deal can't close without my signature.
A knock at the door. Sarah entered, arms full of the legal files he'd requested.
Dad, you look like you found a buried weapon. What's on that screen?
James tilted the tablet away, but the storm in his eyes was unmistakable.
Nothing that can't wait. I need you to trust me. Sarah, for just a little longer.
She nodded, leaving the room. James returned to the cap table, his thumb hovering over the screen. James pressed the call button on a number he hadn't dialed in years. The seller, Henderson, picked up on the second ring.
Henderson, the logistics acquisition. I am pulling consent. Effective immediately. The deal is dead.
Henderson stammered about closing dates, legal binders, career suicide. James's voice never rose.
Tell Brandon Hayes his biggest deal just became his biggest lesson. No further discussion.
He ended the call. The effort cost him. His chest rose with shallow breaths, but his eyes held a hunter's calm. The door swung open. Sarah stood, face pale with shock. She had heard every word.
Dad, what did you just do? Pull what deal? That was about Brandon, wasn't it?
I am protecting us. That's all you need to know right now.
Protecting us. Dad, please, I am in the middle.
James held her hand, but his gaze was distant, already on the next move. The deal had officially died, but the war was just beginning.
No more half answers. Dad, you just destroyed a deal. I need to know why.
Because the deal Brandon was about to close, the capital behind it is mine. It flows through my family office.
You killed his deal? You pulled the funding yourself?
He killed his own future when he chose a wire transfer over my heart surgery.
But he's my husband. I am caught between him and you.
There is no between. You stand with the man who left me to die, or with the man who was always there.
The room fell silent. Sarah's breath caught as the full weight of his words settled, a line drawn in permanent ink.
I am here. I'll keep quiet. For now, you have my word.
She held him tight, the silent vow passing between them. The divide was now bridged with a secret.
The next move is his, and he won't see it coming.
Brandon snatched the receiver, expecting his team's final affirmation. The voice on the line was Henderson.
Henderson, tell me we're cleared to close. The press release is waiting.
The reply was slow, soaked in apology. The lead investor had withdrawn consent. The deal was dead.
What? Who pulled the plug? I gave up everything for this deal.
The line went silent. Henderson refused to say more. Legal obligations, he murmured. He grabbed his cell phone, scrolling through contacts with deliberate fury.
Someone must know. The capital came from somewhere. I'll find out who buried me.
He called his lawyer, then his banker, then the fund's limited partners. Each call ended the same. No one knew anything.
This isn't possible. A deal doesn't just evaporate. Not a $340 million deal.
By evening, his confident smirk was a memory. The name he needed remained a ghost. Brandon pulled the cap table himself, the document ice cold on his screen. Somewhere in those lines was the answer. Fund flows, shell entities, nominee structures. He traced them with an analyst's precision. Then his finger stopped. MW Holdings, a family office. The Whitmore family office.
Whitmore. That's Sarah's maiden name. That old man, he controls the capital.
The trust documents confirmed. James Whitmore was the beneficial owner. The silent capital. The man he'd left on a gurney.
He was in that hospital bed, and he pulled the plug. My career, my life, demolished with a phone call. You blocked my deal from your hospital bed because I missed a surgery? This isn't business, it's revenge.
He grabbed his phone, thumb hovering over Sarah's name. She had to know, or perhaps she already did. The call dialed. Each ring was a drumbeat of a marriage about to face its reckoning. The line connected. Sarah's voice came through, guarded and cold.
I know about MW Holdings, Brandon. Dad told me everything after he pulled the plug.
You knew, and you let him do it. My career is in flames because of your father.
Your career? You skipped his heart surgery for a wire transfer. Did you expect a parade?
It was business. I couldn't be in two places. You are supposed to understand.
It was family. You chose wrong. And my father showed you what happens when business meets betrayal.
The line went silent. Then, a click. Sarah had hung up. He drove home in a daze. In his dark apartment, he collapsed onto the couch, head in hands. On the mantelpiece, their wedding photo caught the dim light, a frozen moment of promises, now shattered. The full truth settled. The deal, the surgery, the cold calculation of a father protecting his own. He was alone. The man holding all the cards had yet to speak a single word to him, face to face. The next morning, Brandon walked the polished corridor of the private recovery wing. His footsteps weighted with dread. Before he could knock, Sarah stepped from a side door, arms crossed like a gatekeeper.
He doesn't want to see you. You made your choice 3 days ago.
Sarah, please, I need to explain. I didn't know the money was his.
You didn't know he was fighting for his life, either. Business, remember?
Brandon flinched. Her words echoed his own, thrown back like a weapon.
I know I was wrong. But that deal, my entire career, it's gone because of him. Let me talk to him. Let me talk to him.
Because of you. He just pulled the trigger. The gun was already in your hand.
She walked away, leaving him in the sterile silence. The recovery suite door remained closed. Inside, James Whitmore listened. He hadn't said a word, yet his lesson was already etching itself into bone. The recovery suite absorbed the corridor's silence. James Whitmore sat against a stack of pillows, a folder closed in his lap. Sarah slipped back in, her face a storm of resolve and regret. She didn't need to speak.
He came, and you told him I wouldn't see him.
He's broken, Dad. He knows what he did. Maybe you've made your point.
This isn't about a point. It's about a door he closed himself. Now I am going to show him why it won't open again.
He opened the folder. Inside a single page, the cap table, MW Holdings highlighted in yellow. His silent capital, now a weapon.
Tell him to come in. I am ready.
He's not going to like what's in that folder.
She opened the door. Brandon stood on the threshold, his tie askew, his pride stripped away. James did not rise. He simply waited, the architect ready to unveil his final blueprint.
Why? James, you destroyed my deal. I need to know what gave you the right.
James didn't answer. He simply lifted the folder and offered it across the silence. Brandon snatched it, flipping it open with trembling hands. The first page stopped him cold. A cap table, the entity MW Holdings burning under yellow highlighter.
MW Holdings. The Whitmore family office. This is his own capital. This is your entity? You were the silent investor all along.
James's silence was the only confirmation offered. Brandon's hand trembled as the truth landed. The man he had abandoned on a gurney controlled the fate of everything he had worked for.
The surgery. I skipped it, and now my whole life is in this folder.
He looked up, but James had not moved. The architect waited for the next piece of his blueprint to fall into place.
I am the silent capital, Brandon. The $340 million you were chasing, it was my money.
I didn't know. I had no idea the investment came from you.
You didn't care to ask. You sent a text, and then silence, while I was on that table.
James's voice didn't rise. It settled. Each word a weight dropped onto Brandon's collapsing defenses.
While surgeons were splitting my chest, you were toasting your career. My money made that possible. When I woke in ICU, I found your deal in my vault, so I pulled the plug from my hospital bed.
But it was business. It wasn't personal. You have to understand.
It was always personal. You chose a wire transfer over my life. Now the career you chose is gone.
Brandon's arguments crumbled. There was nothing left to say. The room filled with the quiet of a man who had lost everything. James waited. The lesson was almost complete. Now, only the final price remained.
I welcomed you into my family. I tested you. I would have let you run my company. But you couldn't be there for the one moment that mattered. My surgery.
I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. Give me a chance to make this right.
There will be no second chance. The deal is dead. Your career with it.
James leaned back, a new stillness in his voice that made the room feel smaller.
Next time, show up.
3 words. 3 words that just ended everything.
The folder slipped from his hand, spilling the cap table onto the floor. The proof of his folly scattered at his feet.
I don't know who I am anymore.
The silence that followed was not peace. It was the absence of everything he had built, drowned in the beep of a heart monitor.
James, please, I'll do anything. Just give me a path back from this.
James's head moved slowly, side to side. There was no negotiation in his eyes.
You are done, Brandon. There is no path back. Not now, not ever.
Brandon stumbled backward, his body rejecting the verdict before his mind could fully accept it. He turned, his legs barely obeying, and walked out, nearly colliding with Sarah, who stood frozen in the corridor. Sarah entered the room, her face streaked with tears. She crossed to James without a single word.
I heard everything. I am done, Dad. For good.
James held her tighter than he had in years, his own eyes growing damp. His victory was not in the destruction. It was in this. No further words were needed. The divorce was a foregone conclusion, a silent agreement sealed in that embrace. For the first time since the surgery, the room felt like a place of healing. The next morning, Sarah sat beside James's bed, phone pressed to her ear, her voice steady but laced with finality.
I want to file for divorce. Full dissolution. I don't need anything from him, just freedom.
The lawyer's muffled questions came through. Sarah answered without hesitation, each word a brick in a new wall.
You are strong, Sarah. Stronger than he ever gave you credit for.
He chose a deal over us. I choose us.
Later that afternoon, in a quiet lawyer's office, the papers were ready. Sarah took the pen with a steady hand. Her signature flowed across the line. Clean, unhesitating. The divorce was no longer a threat. It was a reality. She returned to the hospital as dusk fell, the filed papers already a signal moving through the system.
It's done. The moment he's served, he'll know he lost everything.
James nodded slowly, the weight of a long battle finally lifting. The divorce was in motion, and with it, the final chapter of his silent war. At his firm, the morning had already brought fresh humiliation. Partners avoided his gaze, and a cardboard box sat on his desk. Then, a process server stepped into the doorway, an envelope heavy with legalese extended toward him. He tore the seal. The top line read, "Petition for dissolution of marriage."
She actually filed. The divorce. It's real.
The paper trembled in his grip as the full weight of the words settled. He looked up. Through glass walls, his team had formed a quiet, pitying audience. A junior associate pulled the door shut, sealing him in a silence that felt like a tomb. Brandon sank into his chair, the divorce papers resting atop a packing box. He had chosen a deal over family. Now he had neither. The city outside his window continued on, indifferent to his collapse. The day of James's discharge, morning sun flooded the hospital lobby. He walked slowly, a cane in hand, Sarah at his side.
First steps outside in 2 weeks. How does it feel?
Like I've been given a second life, and I know exactly what to do with it.
The city slid past the windows in a quiet blur. Neither spoke of Brandon. His name had become irrelevant.
I think we're going to be okay, Dad. Better than okay.
The car turned onto a tree-lined street and stopped before a classic brownstone, warm light glowing from within. James stepped through the front door and paused, inhaling the familiar scent of leather and old books.
This is where I was always supposed to be. Not in a hospital bed, not in a boardroom, here.
Sarah wrapped an arm around his waist, and they stood in the quiet, the weight of the past weeks slowly lifting. The war was over. The real victory was in the stillness of a home that no longer held a stranger. Weeks later, James sat in his leather armchair, a hardcover book resting in his lap, the fire casting amber waves across the study. Sarah entered, a teacup in each hand. She settled onto the ottoman across from him, the formal distance replaced by a comfortable silence.
I heard through former colleagues that Brandon took a job at a regional office in Ohio. Something small, nowhere near Wall Street.
Good. Let him learn what it means to build from nothing. He'll remember what matters now.
I feel nothing about him now. No anger, no pity, just the absence of his presence, like a window that's finally closed.
That's how you know the lesson took. For him and for us.
They shared a quiet smile, the kind that holds no malice, only the acknowledgement of a wound that had finally healed. The fire crackled, filling the room with a warmth that seemed to seep into their bones. James lifted a crystal glass, the amber liquid catching the light. No toast, just a silent recognition of peace restored. Outside, the city hummed on. But here, in this room, the world was exactly as it should be. As the study fire burned low, James rose and walked to the terrace. The Manhattan skyline lay before him, bathed in a deepening gold. The autumn air was still. In his pocket, his phone buzzed, a news alert. He glanced at the screen. The headline read, "Former dealmaker's fallout continues." It was about Brandon.
No need to read further. The lesson already landed.
He pocketed the phone and rested his hands on the railing, his charcoal blazer catching the light. The slight smirk returned, the same one from the thumbnail, the same from the pre-op bay.
Some lessons are delivered with a phone call, others with a closed door. This one needed both.
He straightened, turned, and walked back inside, a man at peace with his silent justice. The city would never know the quiet architect who had reshaped its game, and he preferred it that way. Screen fades to black on James Whitmore's slight, knowing smirk. In the world of hidden power, revenge is never a shout. It's a door that stays closed forever. James Whitmore never raised his voice. He simply closed a door that had already been slammed in his face. Some evidence never needs to be kept. The fire takes it, and with it, the last trace of a man's betrayal. The man on the other side learned that the career he sacrificed for was built on capital he couldn't see. The best revenge isn't living well. It's letting them realize they destroyed themselves. And the slight smirk says everything. No words needed, no revenge to take, because true power isn't in destroying. It's in knowing you could have, and choosing not to. The silent architect, the invisible hand, the father who showed up. If you believe strength is silence, like and subscribe. Until next time.